Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and having a great week. Let me know how you're doing in the comments. Today's video is all about how to encourage your parrots to play with toys. Now before we get into it, I just want to apologise if the video looks a bit yellow, I guess. It's really dark today and obviously we're going into the sort of shorter days and winter months now, so I normally use natural lighting, but I think I might have to invest in like a softbox or something, different kind of lighting, because yeah, it's really dark, so I'm having to use the main light at the moment. So I apologise if it looks weird, but stick with me here because the advice is really important if your parrot struggles with playing with toys. One of the first reasons why your parrot might not be playing with the toys that you've provided for it is because they are made out of plastic or acrylic. Now, I'm not fully bashing plastic and acrylic because we have some that we use outside of the cage. We've got like a nail trimming stand that's got some acrylic bits that they like to kind of clunk about, and plastic training toys where they learn how to do kind of tidying up, that kind of thing. Those toys I think are okay, but toys inside a cage, I don't think plastic is really the way to go. So toys in general should be helping to promote natural behaviour, and I'm not quite sure what niche the plastic toys really fill. Yes, they can kind of play with them and manipulate them with their feet, and they can sometimes lick them and maybe kind of bash them a bit to make a little bit of noise, but other than that they're not really serving much of a purpose. Oftentimes plastic toys are left in there for a really long time. Oh, you know, he likes it, it's been in there for ages, it's his favourite toy. It's probably been in there for ages because he doesn't know what to do with it and he can't destroy it. Parrots love to destroy. If you have a parrot, you should know that. They love to chew on absolutely everything and anything. The boys have just gone up to try and chew the curtain rail, so I'm just going to go and get them. So really, there's just not much that your bird can do with a plastic toy. They want to use their beaks to destroy. That's what they like doing. They love chewing up anything and everything, and you just can't do that with plastic toys. And if they can do that with a plastic toy, then it's not safe, because you definitely don't want them to ingest any kind of fibres that are indigestible, like the plastic, for example, acrylic or cotton rope, those kind of things. You don't want them to be chewing those kind of toys so much that bits are breaking off. So I don't quite understand what sort of purpose the toy manufacturers think is appropriate for these plastic toys, which is why I'm really against them. And of course, I'm not trying to bash anyone who does have any kind of plastic toys. As I said, I've got some myself, but for outside of the cage. Now, the next point that I wanted to touch on is toys might be scary for phobic birds. So generally speaking, as a whole, African greys are quite a phobic species, and new things being introduced can cause a lot of behavioural issues and a lot of stress as well. So that's something to consider if you do have an African grey. Obviously not all of them are going to be like that, but as a kind of general overview, that's generally what they're thought of as. Also, birds that are kept on their own can often become phobic of new things. So oftentimes when your bird actually has a cage mate, or if they live in an aviary with lots of other birds, it just provides that little bit of confidence and support to maybe try new things and be a bit bolder. But a single bird, I've seen from experience, can be a lot more cautious about trying new things and trying out new toys as well, because they haven't quite got the confidence. Again, of course, this is a generalisation, but it's worth noting because it could be a reason why your bird might not be interested in toys. And I'm actually going to show you a clip now of Pickles, because she's really scared of one particular toy, which is unusual because she loves other toys, but I just wanted to show you her kind of reaction to it and what it would look like for a phobic bird to not like a certain type of toy. So unfortunately, Pickles really doesn't like these kebab toys, and they are a really great toy and a nice soft wood, which I know she'd like if she just gave it a chance. You can kind of see with her body language, she doesn't want to be anywhere near it. So one of the things that I can do is either keep it on top of her cage, and then she can get used to it in and out of the cage, or I can put it on, say for example, the dining room chair, so she can see it from a distance, but she doesn't have to actively interact with it. Or I can do successive approximations, so small baby steps to get her to at least come a little bit closer towards the toy with some treats. Now, leading on from phobic birds, they can sometimes really not like toys if they make a noise. For example, ones that have a lot of metal, even plastic sometimes as well. If they make a lot of noise clunking around whenever they're kind of brushed past, that can sometimes make birds really nervous, and they might not like to kind of be around it or interact it or even go in that part of the cage. So that's another thing to consider that you might not have thought of before, that actually toys that are noisy can be a little bit scary. So another possible reason for your bird not wanting to interact with the toys that you provided is the size of them. Obviously a toy ideally wants to be the right kind of size for your bird, but it's not always kind of set in stone. So obviously a toy that's too small for a big bird, they'll just crunch it in a second and it'll be gone, or they might not even bother. A toy that's too big for a small bird could be really intimidating. However, it's not the case with my birds. For example, I've got this huge, great big Rosewood / Planet Pleasures, because they're, you know, the same toys. I can't actually remember what this one's called, but it's a really good toy. My birds absolutely love it. They love chewing all of these bits and pieces. But as you can see, this is a lot bigger than a cockatiel. But this actually works really well for my birds. They like to climb on top of this and chew these bits out. They like to play underneath and chew these bits. That's how a kind of bigger toy can work for smaller birds. However, some birds might be really intimidated by a toy like this and not want to interact with it. So it's just another thing to bear in mind. It could be a combination of these things that might be upsetting your bird. It could just be one, but it's kind of a trial and error, if you like, to see what they prefer. So even when choosing more natural toys, you can still go into a bit of bother. For example, the actual wood hardness and also the colours. So for example, I've got one of these lovely West Coast bobs here, and it's got different kinds of colours on them. However, some birds really hate certain colours. From experience, some birds that I've worked with have really hated red and also purple. So if you're buying toys that have got colours that your birds really don't like, they're probably going to avoid them, maybe even exhibit a little bit of aggression sometimes because they don't like them. But just bear that in mind. Try different colours, different combinations, different textures, and also the wood hardness. If the wood is too hard for your bird to chew, it's unlikely they're going to play with them. And one of the other ways that you may find your bird is struggling to play with certain toys is about where you position them within the cage. So for example, if you have one of these beautiful Rosewood Planet Pleasures toys, like Pickles is demonstrating here, not sponsored, but we love them. If you place this at, for example, the back of the cage, just against the bars, or not actually near a perch, some birds will actually struggle to kind of play with them, and sometimes birds can be a little bit lazy, and if it's not easy to get to, sometimes they just won't play. I mean, for some birds, we do it with Pickles and the boys, they actually really like toys that go kind of at the back of the cage, and they can kind of climb all over them, and it's a little bit harder to get to them. So they actually prefer it like this. But for birds who are a little bit unsure about certain toys, have them near a perch and just make it a little bit easier to access them, and then hopefully they'll start playing with them. So we've spoken about some of the reasons why your bird might not be playing with toys, but now we're going to talk about how we can encourage them to play with toys, because there are lots of ways that you can try and encourage your bird to play with these toys and have a really enriching and happy life. So to start off with, you're going to want to be buying toys that are natural and safe, things that are made out of safe woods and palm leaves and grasses. David, my boyfriend, has actually got a whole video on the toys that we recommend and that our birds love, so I'll pop a card at the top and you can go and check it out and see some of the toys that we recommend. Also, if you have other birds who really like toys, and maybe you have a new addition to your flock who's a little bit nervous, you can actually give them some sort of partially played with and partially chewed toys, just like this one here. And they may kind of see, oh, this has been destroyed a little bit, maybe I can get my beak in here and get involved. What do you think, Pickles? She's just chatting away. So yeah, you can give them sort of partially used toys if that's an option for you, and hopefully that will encourage them to have a go. So another really good technique that you can do to try and encourage your bird to play with toys is actually to train them to play with toys, which sounds a bit unusual, but it's definitely possible, and I've done it with Pickles with some of the toys that we have. I'm going to show you a clip in a second, but I first saw this on Barbara Heidenreich's blog many years ago, and I just thought it was a really cool way that some people might not think of in order to encourage birds to play with different toys. And it can work even if your bird is used to toys. If there's just a new toy that they're not quite sure of, you can use this technique and hopefully encourage them to start destroying it. So here we have a toy that Pickles isn't very used to, but the boys have been playing with it. So it's got some bite marks, which is a good kind of start to get her understanding that it's a toy that she can chew and play with. But we're just going to do a little bit of training with her. So I'm going to encourage her to chew the toy. Good girl. And then click and chew. And then I can shape that to a longer chew, or chewing something else, or actually chewing a piece off. Clever girl. But of course your bird needs to understand the concept of training. I do have a video on that. I'll put a card at the top and a link in the description. Another technique that you can try to get your bird interested in toys is to play with it yourself and just make it look really, really interesting. Wow, because look at this toy. And then hopefully your bird will actually try and give it a go because they see that it's safe because you're playing with it and seeing that it's quite fun, and you'll normally want to get involved in whatever you're doing. Isn't that right, Pickles? Good girl. Now, as I briefly mentioned earlier, where you position your toys is key. So make sure you pop your toys near your bird's favourite perch or also near their food bowls as well, and that can encourage them to hopefully try them and feel a bit more confident. And I'm going to show you what we do with our boys in their cage. So this is one of the bird's favourite toys at the moment. It's from the Natural Bird Product Company, and it's right next to one of their food bowls, and it was very beautiful when it first came. It was lovely balsa wood and cake cases and finger traps. The birds are just flying to me, by the way, if you can hear flapping. And now it's kind of been destroyed, and that's great because that's a sign of a good toy. It means that they've really enjoyed it, and it's also near one of their safe places and places where they like to hang out, which is by the food bowl. So yeah, they've really enjoyed it, and that's a sign of a good toy. We also have these other little ones from the Planet Pleasures Rosewood range. The boys really like just chewing these when they're next to the food bowls, and sometimes balancing food up there as well. So you can see that they really like these ones, and they're quite easy to shred. And then also over here you can see some of the other ones that they really, really love destroying. Again, a really good sign of a great toy is one that they can destroy. Again, you don't really want it to be destroyed overnight, but over time you should be able to see that they really get their beak stuck into it, and lots of different materials as well, and all natural, no plastic or anything like that over here. And my final tip is to make things easier, and also by changing things up a lot. So I actually change out the birds' toys, or most of them, every single day to keep it really interesting, and that encourages them to play with almost all of their toys and destroy them. But also we like to make easier toys and DIY toys as well. So I have a whole video of some DIY toys that David and I made. I'm going to pop a card at the top so you can check it out, and hopefully you can make some toys from some things around your house as well, and give your birds a new enriching experience, and hopefully encourage them to play with some easy materials like cardboard, which are a little bit softer and kind of easier to chew through. This brings me to the end of the video. I hope you found it useful, and I hope it helps your bird to play with their toys and have a really fun and enriching life. If you have any questions, I would love to speak to you. Please pop them in the comments, and also in the comments I'd love to know what your bird's favourite toy is. Is it from a particular brand? Is it one that you've made at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what they are so I can go and check them out as well for my flock too. But from me, Pickles and the Screaming Boys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week. Take care and see you later.